Hey there, Breakfast Club. Welcome to Monday's edition with Got That Funk. Thanks for joining me. Today, as a result of the mass shooting that happened in Texas, I found myself in the awkward position of agreeing with something Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said, one of the things he said in response to the mass shooting was that this is a mental health issue more than it is a gun issue. And I think that mental health issues and guns, when you put those two issues together, there are loads of reasons to be concerned and to, want and hope that we can do something to minimize people dying needlessly from the results of this, mismatch, as it were. The problem is that there are plenty of mental illnesses that someone might be diagnosed with, which in no way indicate a violent nature. And it's difficult to know where to draw the line and who should have the authority of drawing that line. And, by what means would you test people before they obtain a gun? There's another issue regarding that. But here's the thing for me. I'm going to put the mass shooting aside for a moment, because where I agreed with Donald Trump is about mental health issues and guns, because not everybody who's depressed is suicidal. But most people who are suicidal, not all, but most people who are suicidal are depressed or have suffered from depression. And depression is a blanket term for a collection of different kinds of mental illness. So I don't want to overgeneralize necessarily, but the word still means what it means in its own specific sense. And depression, most people who are suicidal because they are in some level depressed, whether that's chemically depressed or just emotionally depressed due to events in their lives. To me, it's a distinction without a difference if someone actually goes to the point of taking their own life. Anyway, in the United States of America, something in the neighborhood of 32 to 33,000 people a year die from a gun wound, a bullet wound. That's around 90 a day. And of that, about 52 or 53% are suicides. The problem for me when it comes to guns and suicide, or mental illness, is suicide, because the moment from deciding, fuck this, I'm done, I can't take this anymore, reach to the nearest drawer with a gun in it, point it at your head and pull the trigger, the entire process can take less than 30 seconds. Whereas most methods of suicide, someone has to consider what they want to do. They have to make a plan. They might even have to make preparations. If you're going to slit your wrists, you got to find some decent razors, right? If you want to hang yourself, are you going to use rope, or are you going to tie sheets together? And what are you going to throw yourself off of? And what if it doesn't? There's all sorts of considerations to make. Most methods of suicide contain within them the possibility that the person who is suicidal is really crying out for help or attention. When it comes to killing yourself with a gun, that's not usually the case, because it's so final, there's no time to have any consideration for what you're doing. And I think if you're going to kill yourself, you really ought to think about it a lot more than a flash decision. Now, I'm sure some people who kill themselves with guns have thought about it an awful lot, and it takes them a while to get up the guts to actually point the gun and pull the trigger. Nevertheless, the point still remains that there are definitely mental health issues that do coincide with gun issues in a negative way, and suicide, in my opinion, is at the very top of that list. Now, unfortunately, because depression is such a blanket term for a collection of different kinds of mental illness, if you suggest that people who are diagnosed with depression forfeit the right to own guns, you'd have major uproar, because so many people have been diagnosed with depression or taking some form of antidepressants or other inhibitors for whatever reason. And so I think there would definitely be a pushback on this, but at the same time, we can't accept as normal, no matter what, 45, 46, 47 people every day just blowing their own brains out just because they can. I have the personal opinion that everyone has the right to take their own life, but only after due consideration. And I think that guns, unfortunately, because how fast it works, basically, guns and suicide just shouldn't mix. That's my opinion. I'm very interested to find out what your opinion is. Is there any way that we can mitigate against this issue without banning people who are diagnosed with depression from owning guns? Or is that exactly what is necessary as far as mitigating against the suicide part of the gun statistics? As far as mass shootings and stuff go, it's all been said. It's all been overly rehearsed. I don't really want to drag this video down with all that. Like I said, I'm interested to hear what your opinions are as regards the conflicts between mental illness and guns. And do you agree with me that suicide is the main issue as regards that, or do you think it's more about people like this guy from the shooting yesterday, or the guy in Las Vegas, 6 weeks ago or whatever, where they're clearly just, not right in the head? Because if you can do what these people did, you're a cold-hearted or heartless son of a bitch. I mean, that guy in Las Vegas shot over 500 people. It took him 9 minutes to do it. If I just shut up and let 9 minutes roll by with you just staring at my face, it would seem like forever. And then this guy yesterday in Texas, it's just the numbers. You say he killed 24 people and injured 20 more. Yeah, but one of the people he killed was a 5-year-old kid that he shot 5 times. He shot a baby that was only 18 months old. He shot a pregnant woman in the head. He shot a 77-year-old senior. And others. Every life that he took matters, of course. I can't mention them all. But, it's hard enough to comprehend when one person takes one other life. But when you go in and take dozens of lives, including children and elderly and pregnant people, you are undeniably sick, diagnosed or not. So that's another problem I want to skirt briefly on before I end the video. Okay, so if we start telling people that, if you're depressed, you won't be able to obtain a gun, or you'll have your gun confiscated from you if you've already got one and you've been diagnosed with depression. The problem with that is that people who suffer from depression will no longer start seeking treatment. And then will be no better off because they'll still be able to obtain guns. So what do you guys think? Any and all suggestions, comments, criticisms, questions, whatever. I'm open to all that and will be very engaging with you in the comment section down below. Sister Danger will be here for tomorrow's video on The Breakfast Club. I'm quite certain of that this time. And I will see you again next week. Until then, may all your ups and downs be ups.